I don't know what the best defense is for somebody. Like, how do I prove that I didn't do something that I was accused of before the word gets spread around? These need to be sealed. That is what I think needs to happen more than anything. I think we need to find a way to seal complaints until they are had out in court.
So Zion Williamson has been named in a pretty damning lawsuit alleging that he raped and kidnapped a woman claiming to be a former girlfriend of his. So the lawsuit, which was filed in Los Angeles, accuses Williamson of 2 instances of rape as well as a, quote, continuing pattern of abusive, controlling, and threatening behavior. Williamson's legal team released a statement Friday denying the allegations, accusing this woman of trying to exploit a professional athlete. Now, Mariah Mills, a known former partner of Williamson, responded to the allegations, saying that she hopes the victims, including herself, get justice. Rodney, what did you make of the initial lawsuit alleging rape and kidnapping against Zion Williamson?
Yeah, sorry if anybody out there is wondering why I smiled. It's because you referenced Mariah as a partner, and it just made her role sound a lot more professional than I think most people probably regard it as. But I'm always going to give credence and respect to anybody who makes an accusation of this ilk. I also am a firm believer in that we have to allow due process to play out. I think in these instances, the thing that makes my eyebrow kind of, contort up a little bit is the fact that this is being handled in civil court and is more so a lawsuit than criminal court, which for me is always an interesting thing. I don't understand why, if you were kidnapped and essayed, why you wouldn't want to have criminal justice, because you can get both criminal and civil justice. There's a way to do both. When O.J. Simpson was acquitted of murdering 2 people many, many years ago, they went to criminal court, and then the aftermath of that, they went to civil court and filed their lawsuit. So sometimes it feels like the order of operations for these accusations and allegations are a little bit out of sync for me, but it's just where we are in these times. I'll allow you to speak because I'm a man, and sometimes I feel like in these instances I should shut up.
I mean, like I just mentioned in the intro, the allegations against him are very serious allegations. Like some of the things that he's being accused of, like threatening to shoot her in the head, like a lot of things. I'm like, oh my God, this is really serious if true. Like you need to be up under the jail if true. If this is not true, and they're saying that they're being exploited here, he and his legal team have got to do a lot more to kind of get on top of this if these accusations are not true. Because this, unfortunately, is going to follow him regardless. It's going to follow him for the rest of his career. I don't know.
And that's where it gets tricky.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets tricky, Samaria. And this is why in the past, I've wanted to be very mindful of how we word certain things, because we'll talk about this and we'll make a big fuss about it. And, we'll highlight and amplify it, right? We'll perpetuate this story. But let's say this thing were to fall by the wayside and nothing is to come of it, right? Or he's found not guilty. Those conversations are a lot quieter than the ones that surround the accusation. And, there's a thing going on right now, and I think we can all see it if we are willing participants in using our eyeballs. There is a sector, and I said this a couple of weeks ago, there's a sector of society right now that is really being accused and targeted of some really heinous acts. And if these people are doing these things, then sure, prosecute and persecute to the fullest extent of the law. I'm with that. But it is clear and obvious that certain people feel like a certain class of citizens are unprotected, and by virtue of their reputation being damaged, are going to be willing to pay out of pocket to silence an accuser. It started with Jay, and it was way before Jay, but there's this, I have to be so delicate. I have to be so delicate because I don't want anybody to feel like victims shouldn't be able to come forward, because that is where we get in a really, really tricky place. But we need to have some level of balance, because these kinds of accusations can completely torpedo the direction of somebody's life.
Yeah. And let's go specifically back to Zion, who unfortunately has had a career. I saw someone tweet, does he have like the worst managed career of all time? Because he has just never lived up to the hype. And I brought up Mariah Mills because that's, this is somebody that's also coming out. We don't know if she is the Jane Doe in the lawsuit, but she's coming out and basically confirming her own stories about Zion and things that she's gone through. So now you have two people that are accusing him of these things. So it's really not looking good. The Pelicans were like, look, don't ask us, y'all ask his legal team. They look like they're wiping their hands with it. It doesn't look good. When you think of Zion, you think of women and food. You don't think of basketball anymore. And that's not good.
I think of fashion.
Fashion? Hold on.
Not in a good sense. You can have he dresses like he dresses terribly. But with Mariah, man, we don't know if she's the accuser or not. And she's very slippery. So let's not say two accusations. Let's just say one in a possible.
Maybe. Okay.
Just in the event that, she does not happen to also be Jane Doe.
Okay.
I'm not giving any credence to anything Mariah says, and the ways in which she dragged Zion Williamson over the internet some years ago. I feel like she should have been ordered to court or have some kind of mental evaluation. We don't talk often enough about the predatory women that exist in these spaces, and Mariah is predatory. And if a man were to have handled her or any woman the way that she handles Zion Williamson, putting all of his business out there like that, then we already know that man would be essentially canceled, right? Like down up to the point of like revenge porn and just nasty, vile things. And I don't know what Zion got going on. I don't know if he is sweet Willie on the low and these women go crazy over him and they can't control themselves, or if he is just a hyper aggressive attacker. I don't know. But with Mariah, I'm not putting any credence at all to anything she has to say. She has proven herself to be unstable mentally, and somebody who probably more than anything just wants to be a part of conversations.
Well, do you feel like this could we be seeing the end of Zion's career, unfortunately, because he just continues to have this negative press attached to him?
No, I don't think his career is in jeopardy. I think people still look at Zion as a guy who can, at some point, really be a really good contributor on a team with championship aspirations. Prior to this, there were conversations about, will the Pelicans trade him? And they seem, really tethered to him. They don't want to let him go. But there are other organizations out there who, if he became available, would gladly sign up for the Zion Williamson experience, because he is an anomaly. He's an anomaly of a basketball player, but between health and just the Pelicans organization as a whole, not being the best, not having the best infrastructure, being drafted to New Orleans when you have a weight and food problem just was not the ideal situation and scenario for him. So I think he'll be good. I think these lawsuits, because they are civil and not criminal, I don't feel like he's going to have too much of a bad stain on his name, unless all things are proven true and innocent, in which case anything is possible.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we can expect the league to do some investigation on their own. And I don't know what will come out of that. But
let me ask you, as a woman, right? If someone were to make these kinds of accusations about someone that you cared about, what would you tell them to do? How would you tell them to handle this kind of situation?
Oh, man.
Out the gate.
I mean, obviously, if they're denying it, I'm going to say you gotta fight it hard. You got to fight it hard. If you feel like this is extortion, then we need to get with the lawyer and get a plan together to really fight that, to prove that. Right. Unfortunately, now we live in a day and age where social media is so quick, and you really shouldn't just be posting stuff. We saw Shannon Sharp do that. I don't know if that helped or hurt his case, but he thought he was trying to get ahead of it by posting stuff, because he's like, well, they're posting stuff, so I'm going to go out and release some messages and audio clips and all of these things. There's videotapes, but I don't know if that helps or hurts. But again, you live in a society where you have to do things quick, because if you want to wait and go through court, now it's like, a couple of months, a year later, it comes out that all of this stuff that you were accused of is now false, and nobody's even talking about it anymore. I don't know. It's just, it's weird.
But once the accusation is made,
right, that's what I'm saying.
On your name. So even if you respond quickly, and we live in these times where the premise is, or it's been coached to us at this point to believe women, right? And that implies that you should just do that flat out. And I don't know what the best defense is for somebody. Like, how do I prove that I didn't do something that I was accused of before the word gets spread around? these need to be sealed into. That is what I think needs to happen more than anything. I think we need to find a way to seal complaints until they are had out in court. Until due process has actually taken place, these need to be sealed complaints, and not even just stuff revolving around SA. Any kind of criminal or civil suit, I feel like needs to be sealed until there's something that actually plays out. Because the way information spreads nowadays really has the ability to impact so many people in a number of different ways. And we talk about bullying with minors and with kids. I do think that there are some people who use the threat of a civil suit with SA attached to it as a form of bullying to a certain demographic and sector of society. And
I like that. I do like that, because that gives, just like a woman or an accuser has the anonymity, you will also have a little bit of protection on your end. I do like that. I feel like it should be both ways. If you're able to file a complaint this damning as a Jane Doe, then it should be sealed until there is a ruling from the judge. I agree with that. I like that.
Yeah, that's my fix. Man, I hate that this is happening. If somebody feels like they were harmed and wronged by Zion, I hope they get whatever justice that is due. And if Zion is being railroaded here, then I hope that the other person that makes this accusation also gets their just due. There needs to be prison time attached to people who make false allegations of this ilk, and we need to figure that out. We need to figure out what the penalty is for just blatantly lying about things that people have done to you, because it's not fair, and it's a really hard thing to battle. Yeah. So with that said, you all let us know your thoughts about the latest accusations against Zion Williamson. Do you think they are true or false? And whether you think they're true or false or not, how should he handle these accusations upon them being made public? Let us know in the comment section.